Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio. Tonight we're one day away from the weekend. My name is Dave Scott, and we are glad to have you all here. We're going to get into aliens, exoplanets, ET contact. Ella Lebain is here with us tonight to discuss these great topics, and I'm very much looking forward to having you here. Dirty Filth is here with another great cartoon, but the best part of tonight, each and every one of you are here as well, including Tim Mothman and his goatee sharing a gold medal, Race Fan with a silver, Robert Lamoth with a bronze medal tonight. Hi, Tracy Winters, Attorney at Large, Michael Morris, how you doing? Road Flare, Karen in the Woo Train, and Kitty Caddywhack, good to see you all. Ethanol is here. Ethanol will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. Moving on here, we have Lee the Bee. Nice to see you. Galactic J. Little Timmy James. How you doing, buddy? Good to have you here. He'll be back later with the UFO report. Frankie B. John Jackson. Mel WD-40 is here lubing us up for tonight's show because you always want to go into a show nice and smooth. You don't want any of that rigidness at all. It never feels good. So make sure you lube on up before this show. Fapster, how you doing? Captain K-Rod. Tuxin Mufon, how are you tonight? Eternity Eternal. Mama Catherine, I love you, my dear. I hope you had a wonderful day, and I hope we're going to make this show good for you. All right, let's continue on. Let's say hi to Sleepy Howell. It's been a while. And who else is next? John Jackson, good to see you as we continue on with our roll call. Fast Hemi, how you doing, my friend? Good to see you here as we continue on with our roll call tonight. Millennium, my man. Number 14 in your program, starting at right wing from Stockholm, Sweden. Lars Jansson. Jennifer Beveridge is here. Jennifer Beveridge will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind, to the right of the studio. Digger Dog, good to see you. Paul Demon, nice to have you here. Corey, how you doing, my friend? As we continue on with the roll call, there's Operation Shutdown. Yennefer, how you doing? Pam Harris, good to see you. JBD, thanks for coming on in. As we continue on with our roll call here tonight, who is next? Algaray over on Twitch. Just did 400 push-ups in 45 seconds to warm up for tonight's show. Parasolo, nice to see you. Rock and Rory, thanks for coming on in. Hi there, Thomas Rock. Hope you're having a good night. And who's next on our list here? Bar Madison. Good to see you. Human Carl is here, a great veteran of the United States Air Force. We love you, Human Carl. Hope you're having a great night with us tonight. Scrolling on down, we got Noble Patrick. And up next, we have Dragonfly. Good to see you both. Dave. Great name. Dave. Love it. I'm Hardcore over on X. Nice to see you as we continue on with our roll call here. And Little Cam is here. Little Cam did 120 chin-ups in 7.5 minutes. He's jacked for tonight. Jacked. Dragonfly, good to see you. JMJ12, thanks for coming on in. X, how you doing? Nice to have you here. Trisha, welcome to SOR Chat. I think it's been a while since we've seen you here. And we're caught up there. We're totally caught up. Let's get the radio side going. Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We appreciate you tuning us on in because we love to have fun with each and every one of you listening in on a nightly basis. Ella Lebain is our guest, so we're going to prepare for her here momentarily, and we are in roll call here on the YouTube side of things, as we got about 40 seconds before we launch. Bombshell Bomber, how you doing? Nice to have you here. And Lee the Bee, good to see you. And let's see here. Who else is next? Well, I think we're caught up on that end. Let us remind everybody, if you're listening in on the YouTube side, the Super Chat is open. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. And, of course, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. So there we go. Xanos, how are you? Crave Dog, good to see you back. It's that time of the night where I ask all of you to throw your horns up. Let's rock, everybody. Of Central British Columbia, you listening around the world. This, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SLR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a bunch of features for you. Rock up, Mumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our site as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon, the Spaced Out Club. Tonight's show is brought to you by Jive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier. Members to Jive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We got a fantastic show tonight about ET contact, about exoplanets, and everything in between. Ella Lebain, author and researcher, will be here momentarily. It is a busy hour number 3 in the show. Why? Well, Swamp Dweller is here with another spooky story. Follow that up. Little Timmy James will be here with the UFO report. Then it's Dave 101 night and the weird news of the week. So let's get right to it. A native of New York City, Ella Lebain was educated in Israel, where she received a social sciences degree from the Biological Research Center of Negev in 1979, a department of Ben Gurion University. At that school, she was educated in biblical Hebrew and science. While in Israel, Ella learned to read and write Hebrew fluently and was educated in Hebrew linguistics, the roots of words. Well, let's fast forward a little bit because she returned to New York and received an astronomy degree from the Hayden Planetarium in 1988. How lucky is she? When she began her serious study of cosmology. Her next step, spending 2 years as a counselor and social worker, assisting missionaries in apartheid South Africa during the 1980s. Ella's close encounters with extraterrestrial beings, which began during her time in Israel in 79, inspired her to dig deeper into what has become a 40-plus year journey to research and discover the truth about UFOs, aliens, ETs, gods, and angels. She has also extensively studied alien abductions and other paranormal activities, and how all of these various concepts and ideas fit into the Bible's end time scenario. Let's get to Ella Lebain. Her website is who's who in the cosmic zoo.com. Ella Lebain, it's been a while since we had you on Spaced Out Radio, but we met personally before a long time ago, and you're just a generous, wonderful person. Thank you for coming back on the show.
Thank you for having me, Dave. It's good to be with you again.
In all the years that you have researched this phenomena, are you any closer to the answers that you seek, or does it still feel like you're at the beginning?
Wow. I found out some things that shocked me, wasn't what I expected. So still journeying down those rabbit holes, but think I moved a peg or two 45 years ago, I hope.
What pegs do you think you moved?
Well, so the big narrative from the 80s was, ET contact and visitors. And so that got me going down these rabbit holes. And this is why I call it the alien presence, because not that there isn't extraterrestrial life out there. There certainly is on other planets, including our solar system. But I think the majority, suffice to say, of what we're experiencing here on planet Earth is coming from inside our planet. That is why I call it the alien presence, because they coexist with us here. So that doesn't mean that they can't move around and you go to the moon and go to Mars and go to the moons of Jupiter and even go interstellar and back and forth. But they've been coexisting with us for millennia. And the evidence of that is in the Bible. The Bible, even though it's been used as a religious book for, the three of the major world religions, it is really an historical account of extraterrestrial interventions, ET contact, the alien presence, and the angelic war. There is a war between them, and it's over us, and it's over the real estate of planet Earth.
Is it really a war?
Oh, yes. It's evidenced in everything. Why don't we have peace? Okay. And people crave it. People want it. But for some reason, it's elusive because some factor or faction of these groups, and there's groups of them. It's not like one and all, and it's faction. That's why I call it a cosmic zoo. Actually, benefit from conflict and dissension between humans, and that's another thing I found out not too long ago, but that there's a us, the way we're wired, human beings, we're flesh and blood, but we're also a soul. We have a soul. We are souls. We have bodies. The soul kind of hovers around the body. We have a spirit. We have a mind. And we're multidimensional. Let's face it, because we know that when our body ceases to exist, the soul and the spirit doesn't. Okay. And we know that from the multiple people, and including myself, who have had near-death experiences. That death is not the end. There are worse things than death. So what does that mean? It means that there's a faction, a group of aliens, call them aliens because they're not like us. So one thing I have to say is I really love the fact that our government changed the name to NHI, non-human intelligence, because if anyone's read my first book, Who's Who in the Cosmic Zoo, book 1, I start out with definitions, because if we have to, in order to have a conversation, we have to get on the same page with language. And the word alien has been misused and abused, especially here in America, because people who come from other countries, like my husband, for instance, who's a Brit, like he was given an alien card. Okay. All right, he might have some pointy ears and he's bald and he speaks funny, but he's still human. Okay. He's not an alien. So that word has been, misconstrued, and it creates confusion. So an alien is something that is not human. So the fact that our the U.S. government Congress, when they've been doing all these hearings on alien disclosure, they've changed that name to non-human intelligence. So that is a good thing, because we can move forward with the conversation there to discern what's actually happening and who's who. Because there are extraterrestrials that are human, okay? They're not alien, okay? And then there's aliens that live inside the planet that are here on Earth that are not necessarily extraterrestrial.
I'll give you the NHI one, but I will not give you a UAP one, because it's still UFO to me.
Okay. Yes, I agree with that. Absolutely. UFO, UAP, I mean, that's just a little, yeah, but whatever, okay? It's still UFOs, the tech, the spaceships. Nobody really, I mean, and unless you know, okay, who is driving those ships, they're still UFOs. I agree with that.
I agree with you on that one. Take us back in your timeline to 1979 when you had your first encounter.
Well, I was 18 years old. I had just graduated from Sodebo Care in the Negev in Israel, just received my degree, and I was waiting on a visa to go to South Africa with my then boyfriend / fiance. And everyone had left the school. Our class was, they called us Nativ Angli because we were English speakers. And it was a program within an Israeli Hebrew school. And we were the last class. So like they ended the program after we graduated. So it was kind of like, everybody's cleaning up. So I was helping my principal clean up her office. And I was waiting on a visa for a month. And it was July in the heat of the summer in the Negev desert of Israel. And I'm sitting and reading a book, laying in the sun, 3:00 in the afternoon, broad daylight. Okay. I'm wide awake. I wasn't under the influence of anything. Okay. Except sunshine. And this being walks out of the sunlight and appears to me and says, "I am the Messiah, follow me." So I'm like, okay. I mean, I'm in shock. I was gobsmacked. And I tell my Jewish boyfriend what just happened. And one of the books that I was, so my principal, we were clearing out her office, and she gave me this book that was on her shelf that belonged to David Ben Gurion. And he's the one who, they named the university after him. He was buried there. He was buried in just like a few 100 feet of where I was. And so I started reading it. It was called The Late Great Planet Earth by Hal Lindsey. I'm sure everyone's heard of it by now. And I was pretty astounded because I had just graduated with the biblical Hebrew and Tanakh, which is the Bible, and you couldn't pass without it, really. I mean, like Jim here. And it was all about the prophets and the Old Testament and all these stories. And then I'm reading this and I'm seeing, oh my goodness, it was like the right and the left leg actually do walk together. And I realized that the Old and the New Testament were together. They were partners, and that the New Testament was the fulfillment of the Old Testament. So I started to have an awakening. And then I see this being, and he says he's the Messiah, and he's all white and full of light. He wasn't like flesh and blood. And so I started to see things that I hadn't seen before. I started to hear his voice. I was hearing his voice that went on for like a year and a half. And long story short, I get the visa, I go to South Africa, and I went back and forth from New York to South Africa twice. And I'm like, the voice was in my head, and I was like running away from it. Okay. So because it was just so intense, and my boyfriend couldn't accept it. Okay. And I'm 18 years old, and I'm just like, but suffice to say that I end up going back to South Africa, and I have all these experiences there. Okay. And I was there right before the end of apartheid. And there was a spiritual revival going on there. And I had never seen anything, experienced, or even heard of anything like this before. So this was like, I was like initiated into all this stuff. And there were people prophesying about all this stuff, and it happened. Okay. I witnessed a woman be resurrected, 23 years old, died of kidney disease, get resurrected from the dead, completely healed. Okay. Like she was a Zulu woman. You know, I was in Zululand in this place called Kwasiza-Buntu, which was near the Nepal, near Durban, outside of Durban. And everyone was praying for her, you know, because she was dying, and she died. But she came back to life, okay, after like an hour, and she was completely healed, and she told everybody that she saw Jesus. And he told her that he had to send her back because he wanted her to tell everybody about forgiveness, and that she needed to forgive her family. And that was the reason why she got sick. And he said she had these like, you know, chains around her ankles, and she was trying to get up to him, and he was sitting at the top of the mountain, and she was at the bottom of the mountain, and he was communicating with her. I never forgot this. Okay. And this sort of like imprinted me. And of course, you know, forgiveness is a big piece, because people don't move forward unless they're able to forgive. But there are things that are unforgivable. Let's face it. I mean, it's really hard to forgive certain things, and you really need God to step in and help you. So this is what that was about. And that impressed me. And I went on to work. And like you had said it at the beginning, you know, I was assisting these missionaries as a social worker, as a counselor, and I was seeing all this, what I think was demonic activity, alien activity. I mean, South Africa is just full of it. There's so much going on there. And little did I know then, because I was young, that I found out later, okay, that this was an area that the Anunnaki, okay, used to mine. They used to have people to mine for gold and diamonds, and everybody knows that South Africa is full of that stuff, and they're still there. And there's portals in the land, and there's areas that have like more activity than others. So it's a real shame, fast forward to today, of what's going on in South Africa now. But I don't know if you want to get into that, but you know, and this is why I said that there's an alien presence that seems to want to fan the fires of warfare, because they see humans, and this may sound crazy, but it's biblical and I can prove it. They see humans as a like a farm, like a source of food for them, because that's why Ephesians 6:12 says, we war not against flesh and blood, but against powers, against principalities, against rulers of the darkness of this present world, and against spiritual wickedness in the heavens. And that's the aliens. And they're fighting over like who gets to control humans and who gets to control the earth.
The spiritual aspect of everything that goes on with this, many people claim that not only is it godly, but there's a phenomena that goes around that seems to, you know, have the life energy of everything, whether it's a tree, whether it's a bug like an ant, whether it's a human, whether it's the consciousness, the soul, everything around it. Doesn't matter whether it's Bigfoot or a horse, an alien or a whale. This phenomena seems to be happy, sad, cruel, angry, engaging, disturbing. It seems to be a little mix of everything. When you look at the phenomena overall and the way it's controlling, I kind of separate the phenomena from God, because I am a God guy, but I think they're different. It would be like God being number one and the phenomena being 1A, which is kind of like his pinball machine.
Yeah, I mean, you know, what you were describing, I agree. It's called, they call it prana, they call it chi, the life force, the breath of God. I mean, he gives us the breath, because one day you have it and the next minute it's gone. So, and the same thing with animals and aliens and Bigfoot. And yeah, it's all part of this grand life force. But that's part of what this particular group of aliens are after. They're trying to harvest that, just like we would harvest, beef, cows, and we eat cows, and we use milk, and we make milk products, and chicken and eggs, and carnivorous stuff. And I learned that we are not the top of the food chain, as I was raised to believe, back in the 60s, that there is a group of aliens that coexist with us on this planet, inside the planet, that are carnivorous and bloodlusty. But it's not that they're after necessarily meat. They're after the life force, which is in the blood. So you can connect the dots to why there's blood sacrifices. I mean, I'm not just talking about the stuff in the Bible. I'm talking about the stuff that goes on this planet like now. Why they do like satanic rituals, why they bloodlet children, why they, terrorize children and then kill them, because there's something about the energy, the adrenal gland, the goes into the blood, and that's why they sacrifice them right at the moment of terror. So there's something in that fear factor that they harvest, which is why they have to keep it going. Okay. So, but that's this plane. That's this earth plane. That's not necessarily the way it is in other dimensions or other planets even. Okay. Because there are spaces and places where that kind of stuff doesn't exist. Perfect, where this is Valentine's Eve.
Right.
So perfect love casts out all fear. Let me just put that out there. Perfect love casts out fear. So where do we get the perfect love from? To get rid of the fear, because the fear factor is pretty big on this planet. We have to go to the source of love, who is God.
But you don't believe that all aliens are bad, though.
I do not. In fact, I've written a lot about this, because this is where you separate God from religion, because there's a lot of religious people who just are still stuck in fundamental disorders. That's what I call it. I hyphenate it in my books, because they're not seeing the forest from the trees, and they're creating these narratives that are very dangerous, that we've been through before. History repeats itself. It just comes back. It's like fashion. It just comes back every 29, 30 years in a different style. But, and look at what World War I, World War II, and, what World War III is percolating is all the same. It's like genociding a group of people off the face of the planet. Why? Okay, because there's this fear factor going on. They want to harvest all this negative energy, because that's the stuff they feed on. But that's not who we are necessarily. Humans are not made that way. So there's the battle over who we are. So the aliens have told whistleblowers, okay, like Bob Lazar has come out with this. He's one of the whistleblowers, and he said, well, the aliens see us as containers. Containers of what? Containers of energy, or containers of where they can fill, okay, and use people. This is what, they call possession. And then the Bible says that God sees us as vessels. Vessels of what? Vessels for him, vessels for the Holy Spirit, vessels to be used by God. So container and vessel is like a thesaurus word. It's one and the same. So therefore, that's where the battle lies. Who gets to live in us?
Ella Lebain is here on Spaced Out Radio. What's it like to have ET contact? Is it something we should look forward to? Is it something we should expect? Is it something that only comes from nightmares? Her website, whoiswhointhecosmiczoom.com. We'll be right back on Spaced Out Radio. Stay tuned, everybody. All right, we are clear. And let's quickly say hello to Boss Monster. How you doing? Mark, nice to see you. Paramarv, thanks for coming on in. And who else is joining us here? I think we are caught up. Oh, Wise Ass McCoy, nice to see you. Gorgeous Kim Jellin, how was the teeth today? Give us a teeth update if you don't mind. She's got the most beautiful teeth. She should model her teeth. Dirty Filth, which cat is that?
We got Gremlin hanging out here. Hello, Gremlin.
Gremlin's not as critical as Blob is about the art.
Blob's down on top of the heat register still. It's really cold outside, Dave.
Yeah.
Gremlin's a beauty.
Yeah, he's also pretty stinky. He cleared the room out earlier today.
He seems very chill.
He wants to. Not there.
Unbelievable.
Aww.
Come on, let him draw. Let him draw.
Here you
Aww.
go, mister.
So cute.
Have at it, Buster. Oh, we have a critic, Dave.
What are you going to draw? Come on.
He's orange. He doesn't know yet.
Put a 97 on that shirt.
Where's my big Sharpie? Scribble, scribble, scribble. All right. Are you all right, mister? Yeah, he's a good boy, though. Mostly. He likes to steal pizza, and he likes hickory sticks.
Oh, cool. I love cats. I have two myself.
So do I.
Yeah.
Super, you doing? Yeah, I got two. They're upstairs. They don't care for me.
Now talk about aliens.
Oh, yeah.
They're just, with fur. We're not being heard, right, Dave?
Oh, yeah.
We are? Oh, okay.
Yep.
I wanted to answer your question about what the Christians say about the aliens and demons. Ask me about that.
Yep.
Okay. Look at him. He's got a very rich color on his head. That dark red. Oh, look at you. You handsome fella, you. Look at you. Aw.
Apparently everybody loves you, mister. He's vibrating. His cat motor's going at full tilt.
I can feel it. How cool. That's great.
Yeah, I can't feel my legs anymore. He's a heavy cat. He's a monster. There must be some dark matter inside this thing.
Look.
He's also a big mommy's boy.
Aw, aren't they all?
Yeah, they only like me when their mom's in bed. It's like, oh, let's go pile on dad here. He's drawing cartoons.
You're just another warm body.
The only place one of my two cats, my one cat doesn't care I exist. My other cat only likes it when I get out of the shower and he jumps up on the bed. And then I pet him. And then after about 3 minutes, he's had enough and doesn't need me anymore.
Aw.
No cat cuddles, nothing. Just cats. So I'm good with that, though.
They're protectors. We could talk about that. I have a whole chapter on them. They're called Pashats, feline race. They're an ET race, definitely. They're protectors.
He's just hoping I survive till tomorrow to give him snacks.
He owns that picture. Look at that. It's like,
yeah, if he's lucky, he'll sign it for him.
All right, we got about 30 seconds.
All right.
Still waiting for our first super chat of the night. Who wants to be first? Chill Farm, how you doing? Good to see you. And don't forget, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. Here we go. Go with the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We always appreciate you tuning us in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Reminder to all of you that if you missed portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Author, researcher Ella Lebain is here. Her website, who's who in the cosmiczoo.com. You can find her books there. Ella, thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Thanks for having me, Dave. I'm enjoying your cat.
There's a lot of people out there who would love to have contact with any type of ET presence. It's not that hard, but it's not that easy as well. They don't care whether or not it's good. They don't care whether the experience is bad. They are just wanting to have their own proof that the phenomena exists that will blow their mind.
Mm.
When you look at the people who just say, I just want something. I want to see something. I want to experience something. What do you say to them?
Well, that's a great question. I actually put that whole narrative and started my first book with that, because that's the reason why I've written the series, is to teach what I needed to learn, and I'm still learning, and that's discernment. So, we need to be discerning about who we have relationship with, right? I mean, you don't just, go to bed with anybody. You don't just pick and choose anybody. You have to be discerning. People don't travel without ID. You have to be discerning. Yet there's this narrative that people just want to have contact. They just want to meet an alien. They don't really care which one. They just want to have an experience. And that is a very dangerous place to be. And here's why. Because this is part of the battle we were talking about earlier. And that's exactly the type of prey, and I'm going to use that word, that the predator type alien will prey upon, because they're looking for these weak, ignorant humans that don't really care, and they can be, moved by every wind and wave, and they can be manipulated. Okay. And, this is where knowledge empowers, because all we have to do is look at the past. Okay. There is nothing new under the sun. And what is happening today has happened before, and we have records of it. Okay. All we have to do is dig. And I'm not just talking about the Bible. I'm talking about, stuff that's been written in stone, like the cuneiform and the Sumerian and the Egyptian and the Mesopotamian and the Persian. They etched it in. They left their mark. And yet, of course, we do have the biblical narrative, and that makes more sense. And we know that there were other beings. They called themselves gods, but there's God with a little g, not the big gods, because anybody could be a god. I mean, it's just a title. I mean, God is a title, like president or king. Okay, it doesn't necessarily mean that is the God of gods or the creator God. Okay, and so there's been a competition over us and over who gets to control us, who gets to have us, who gets our worship, who gets our attention. All right. So if someone is moving into this and saying, oh, I just want to have contact, they don't really care who, that be warned, because there is a predator group of aliens that will take advantage of that. Okay, it's just like telling a woman, to go, dress in a miniskirt and go stand out in the middle of Times Square. What do you think's going to happen? All right, or better yet, go to a Muslim country. I mean, it's just like, it's foolish. Okay, so this is where, like, okay, so what you asked me earlier, I just want to finish this because it dovetails into this question, and that is about, what Christians believe, or they've been saying that all aliens are demons. And that is a half truth. Okay, that what I have written and put out there, and it's published on my blog, which is called spiritualdiscerning.com. spirituallydiscerning.com. There's an article recently, I just published a couple of months ago about this, because I feel like I need to set this straight, because this is a very dangerous narrative. Okay, all aliens are not demons. All demons are aliens. Okay, just chew on that for a minute. Okay, but there are aliens, like we talked about earlier, that are not of this earth. There are aliens that God created. It's evidenced in the Bible, that actually serve the throne of God, that serve the throne of heaven, that are not angelic. They are not human. Therefore, they're alien creatures. So to suggest that they're all demonic and evil is a very dangerous narrative. Now, if you want to discern which ones are demonic and which ones have evil intentions, let's go there. Let's start discerning and categorizing, who the reptilians are, what their agenda has been for humans, who the grays are, who do the grays serve. So a lot of people, they come into this and they think, oh, wait, I saw a gray, I saw an alien. It's like, but they're not the ones in control. It's a hierarchy. So what I was told, what I published in my first book was, and I was told this, and I think it was Clifford Stone who put this out, another whistleblower, that there are 35 different types of grays. So in my book, I spell gray, Gray, to distinguish it from the color gray, Grey, because the grays are not all gray in color. Some of them are beige, tan, green, white, navy blue, metallic looking. They're hybrids. They're a combination of reptilian and insectoid. Okay, and when you look at the species and you look at the relationship between the reptilians and the insectoids, I mean, just look at nature. Okay, what happens there? Yeah, I mean, bugs are food for lizards, right? But then again, there's that praying mantis. And if you've ever seen that video, because it's a real thing, that the praying mantis can absolutely devour a lizard. Okay, and we have alien beings that are called mantids, that are not the little guys that we see here on Earth, but they're like 7 feet tall. Okay, and they according to the whistleblowers, I'm just a messenger here, they eat children like we eat chicken. Okay, so therefore we're not on the top of the food chain there. And then there's this ongoing war between the reptilians and the insectoids over power. Okay, and I detailed all this in my first book if people want to really get into it. So yes, you can call them demonic, you can call them evil, because they're not necessarily, like helping humanity. Okay, they're using us because they're parasitic, just the very nature of what insects do. They're parasites. They live off of something else. So when a person has that on them, then their energy, the chi, the prana that we talked about earlier, gets drained. Okay, and then you're not living your full potential like God intends you to be. So yes, that would be put into the category of demons. But then there's these other aliens that are not demonic. They're benevolent. They're good. God created them. Okay, so who are we to broad brush and create this other form of bigotry, in my opinion, and say all aliens are demons? I think that's very dangerous.
with contact that people have, whether it's mantids, whether it's grays, reptilians, whatever it may be, Ella, do you see these beings choosing people on their own, or is it people calling out to them?
That's a great question. I think it's a combination of both. And I think it goes in even deeper into one's bloodline and their generations. Because what I've seen is that there's a lot of researchers out there that have also corroborated this, is that it happens in the family. So if you were abducted, your parents were abducted, your grandparents were abducted, somewhere along that ancestral line, an agreement was made with this group of aliens. Maybe they thought they were gods. Maybe our ancestors thought, oh, wow, they can do stuff we can't. Okay, nowadays, if they did something like, dropped a television in the middle of a field here in Colorado or Canada, we'd say, oh, okay, it's just technology. But what happens if that happened like 5,000 years ago, okay, or 4,000 years ago? That would have been considered magic, right? Like who has that kind of technology? But that's the technology that was reported and recorded in the Bible history of what these prophets saw and experienced, like Ezekiel. Like he was a frequent flyer, Elijah, a frequent flyer, up and down, in and out of the ships, describing all kinds of phantasmagorical technology. So to them, to the people who lived on Earth back then, they were gods, but they were aliens with technology. Today, hopefully we're a little, wiser than that, and we can say, oh, that's just tech. I mean, and here we have talk about an alien threat. We have artificial intelligence, and who gets to control that? Who's really behind that? Okay. And I mean, they make movies about this stuff. All right. And so, so back to your question, I think that the aliens will go after, it's like prey. It's the prey and the predator relationship. Who is going to be open so that they can manipulate you and use you and harvest your energy. So I mean, I can get even more specific, like, depression and addiction and all this stuff that keeps people down. It keeps people from living their full potential, right? Or having bad relationships and being like really depressed all the time. I mean, I have a friend. I recommend you should interview her sometime. Her name is Evie Largen, and she wrote the book The Love Bite, which was out in the 1990s, and The Cupid's Bow. And oh my God, I totally recommend that, because what she did was she was able to discern the alien presence behind these toxic relationships. And not only that, she was able to discern that they were the ones setting them up. Okay. And I can testify, I know this sounds absolutely crazy, but this is what we're talking about, that people have been abducted. I was abducted and I got free of that. Okay. And because I got liberated because I broke it. Okay. I broke their contracts and agreements that are generational. Okay. So at some point, somebody in the family line says, okay, the buck stops here. And that's what I woke up to. The buck stops here. I'm breaking this. And I broke the contracts and I broke the agreements with these beings that were abducting me, that were messing me up and setting me up, okay, with the wrong people so that they could harvest my misery. All right. That's what the love bite is about. And it's a very real phenomenon. Okay. So the aliens will abduct people. This is very true. This is very real. They will abduct people and they will match people up in the realms of abduction. And then on Earth, this is why it's not, I don't know why they call it an abduction in a way, because it's not a true abduction. It's not a true kidnapping, because kidnappers take people and then they hold them for ransom. And then they give him back, if they give him back, or they kill him. The aliens don't do that. They take people for a few hours, do whatever they need to do with you, harvest your eggs, harvest your sperm, do skin grafts, and implant you. They implant you, and that's why they put you back, so that you can go back into society, to go to your job, go to your school, do your thing, and live out their agenda. And they will match you up, especially people who are single. They will match you up with someone that they want you to have a relationship with. Okay. And they could be the worst person for you. You have no compatibility, but somehow you meet them and you have this like fatal attraction. Okay. And you're just like, you can't get over them, and you're addicted to them, and you don't understand it. And it's like, wow, it blows everything that you learned or was raised. It just goes against that, but you're stuck in it. Okay. And you're with them, and obviously it's a sexual attraction, because that's where it's happening. All right. That's where the energy is being exchanged. It's like a tantra, and you're miserable because they're narcissists. They're not good for you. They're abusing you. They're not giving you. All this stuff happens. And who is the receptacle? Who is the receiver? Who benefits from that? This group of aliens. And I know it sounds sick, and it is to us, but to them, that's what they're harvesting. So maybe you can look her up and have her on your show. She'll tell you more about that. But this is a very real phenomenon. And when you look at that, okay, and you look at it from a researcher viewpoint as well as an experiencer viewpoint, you see that this is something that humans have been being manipulated by this force, these aliens, and they do it so well. Okay, they're like, Academy Award actors and actresses. They can shapeshift into your life and make you think that they're saving you from something, or they're the lady, or they're, coming to heal you. And they do have the power to heal. Okay, so it's not just Christ that heals. The aliens can heal, which is why it's a deception, why it's kind of a trap that people get caught up in it. And then it's almost like a Faustian contract. We'll give you this. We'll give you healing. We'll give you love. We'll give you fame, or whatever it is that you want. But then we own you. It's kind of like a mafia thing. And this is a very real phenomenon. So people have to be careful. They have to be discerning.
Ella, what species is doing that? Is it the Greys?
Yes.
Reptilians?
Yes, the reptilians and the Greys. So and the insectoids. So the reptilians control the Greys, but the Greys are not just. They don't just work for the reptilians. The Greys work for all of them, because the Greys are like, they could be programmed. So a lot of them are clones. A lot of them are hybrids, which is why we've seen this in abduction experiencers, where someone will say something. I have these stories in my first book, like, for instance, a Mormon, not even religious, just grew up in Utah, knew this, somehow said this, okay, to stop the abduction, and used the name Jesus, and the alien dropped him. And then this guy in Texas also said, he threw this out at the alien, and he said, if you don't drop that boy, because he was taking a young boy, and he said, if you don't drop that boy, my God is going to blow up your ship. And the alien just did that, dropped the boy, and left, because they are programmed and ordered to do certain things. And if you mess with their programming, they don't know what to say, because they don't think like we do. They don't make decisions on the spot. They don't make emotional decisions. So like we had things like Star Trek and Spock, where this relationship between Spock and Captain Kirk went back and forth for years about him learning how to be human and get comfortable with emotions. Oh, it's totally illogical to do this. But then he realized, it feels good. It feels good to pet the cat. It feels good, all those things that he did in the show. It's the same thing. It's a depiction of what goes on with some of these aliens. They're not emotional. They're just completely cold. And so if you throw something at them that goes against their programming, they don't know what to do, because they're not like us, where they can make a decision on the spot. So here's another thing I've heard from researchers and whistleblowers is that the grays are like a commodity. Like you and I, we all have cell phones. The aliens, the ETs can have grays, like robots, cybergenetic bots that they program to do certain things. Okay, so the grays are not the top. Okay, so when the grays are the ones that are sent from the beings inside the earth to the surface, because they're like these Lilliputian beings and people have gotten used to them, the big buggy eyed and the this and the green and the that, and then they can handle that. Okay, but they cannot handle the masters, who control the grays, they're ugly, they're lizards, they're scaly, and they would freak people out. Whereas humans kind of like, okay, we can put up with the grays. And the grays are used by both sides. They're used by the reptilians and the human ETs.
We got 3 minutes to go before we have to go to break at the top of the hour. We have Ella Lebain here as our guest. How can you stop the contact if you wanted?
Oh, great question. Well, you just got to go to the top God. There is a Lord who's the Lord of all lords, the King of all kings, the Lord of the spirits. Okay, and he has several names. Yeshua is his Hebrew name. In English, they call him Jesus Christ, and it has nothing to do with religion. It has to do with power. He's the top God, and this is why it says in the scriptures that demons tremble at the name of Yeshua. Demons tremble at the name of Jesus. That every knee shall bow at the name of Jesus. Okay, so it's not about religion. It's about relationship. Okay, so if you put your trust in him, it will save you from the aliens. So the negative contact that I had and other people have had can be stopped, has been stopped through him. Okay, I saw it a little deeper than just the name. I figured out that it was generational, and I had to break the contracts and agreements that my ancestors made that I inherited. So the buck stops here with me. And I broke those because everything in the universe is like, it goes by laws. And there's a thing called spiritual legal ground. So you can break the contracts and agreements with these negative aliens and then take it to the Lord, take it to Jesus, and he will protect you. He promises that. And I tell you, since I've done that, I don't get abducted anymore. They don't need me. I'm postmenopausal, so I'm no use to them anyway.
Well, then that brings up a good point. To go here, you mentioned being postmenopausal. Are aliens, do they have an age category?
Yes, well, hormones, okay? Hormones are a huge piece of this because especially women go through multiple hormonal changes throughout our lifetime, okay? So there's times where if you were like using one of those, devices where you can measure energy, well, when you see a girl go through puberty and adolescence, the hormones are raging, okay? And then after a woman gives birth, they're hormonal, which is why they cry, okay? And then perimenopause, freaking off the charts, okay, is crazy, all right? Your estrogen is this, your progesterone is down, and it creates all kinds of problems. That attracts these aliens because of the energy. So there's something about our hormones that causes the aliens to like attach, okay? But then after menopause, when you're not going through those incredible ups and downs, they kind of like, oh, they have no use for you anymore. So beautiful. I do think it's age related.
Ella, we're going to hold you right there because we are going to go to break here at the top of the hour. Ella is here. ET contact, where it goes. Disclosure coming up as well. So long. Don't ahead with Ella. Stay tuned. This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott. All right. Let's see here. We'll be right back. Dirty Filth, we're going to turn this over to you, but I'm going to give a quick roll call here.
Yes.
Hello, Cat's Tongue. Kim Jellin loves my haircut. Says it's as nice as her teeth. Jeff Steve Garvey, he'll hit a home run for you. He's here. Oakland, how you doing? Who else? So Christine Lynn, nice to see you. Almost done, Dirty.
It's all good, man. Just putting all the stuff away.
All right, there you go. It's all yours, bud.
It's all mine. All right, everybody. Hold on 1 second here. I stopped at the Italian Center today, and they got these ginger ales. They're called I don't know if this is against the law or whatever. So sorry, Dave, if YouTube strikes you on this one, but it's called Fentimans, and there's like a dog's head on it, and it looks like a dog, man. And it's like a stout little tiny bottle of ginger ale. Or ginger beer, I guess they call it, whatever. It's not actually beer, but the point is, it's super gingery. It just kicks you right in the back of the skull. It's like a Ren and Stimpy cartoon. It like opens your mouth, kicks you right into the mouth, right to the back of your head, and that's like the super ginger action. It's really good. I'm a sucker for really good ginger ale. So, anyways, about like 3 of those. I feel like a pig.
Oh, wow. That is funny.
Yeah, it's a
That's
Canadian
great.
thing. Probably every Canadian or anybody that lives in like Minnesota has done that.
You're very talented.
Thanks, Ella. I
That's
appreciate
awesome.
it. I usually sneak on here and draw cartoons as often as I can during the week. Let's see what everyone else is doing here in the old chat room. I keep forgetting about that. Dave's just a master of working all through this stuff. Yeah, Jeff Garvey with the alien frozen tongue.
That's hilarious.
I did this one. The time that I did it when I was a kid was on a chain, like a steel chain, because in the complex I lived in, there was a park. It was funny, like there was a park, and they had the like cars would just drive through there, and there was no barrier or nothing. And so their idea was, we'll just put up like this two planks of wood, 2 posts of wood, and a chain, and that's what they did. And that was safe enough for kids in the 80s. We survived. Everybody that didn't got ran over and taken by the flesh-eating aliens. Who knows? Maybe they did that back in the day, but
You know, I could see that as a magnet. I would put that on my refrigerator. I think that's so cute. You should turn that into like merch. Make a magnet out of it.
you know what? That's actually a really good idea. I've been thinking about a couple magnets that I've ideas for. Well, not magnets, but like stickers and everything. Because
Stickers, yeah, stickers and magnets. I mean, why not have both?
we could have as many.
That
as
is
we want.
really cool. And you could even do it with different flags. Like we can change the flag to an American flag and sell it here.
Yeah, change it and just say Michigan people only can buy this.
Yeah. Or Montana. Or,
I guess Minnesota's pretty cold too. Yeah, Montana you probably gets cold. But...
Or Colorado. We have
I
our
could
cold
send-
days too.
Oh yeah, you're way up in the mountains. I could send one to my pal, Sir Brian Bowden, who lives in Florida. He's probably listening. Like, there's one for you. You're like, what's a snow shovel?
Well, they had snow in Florida this year. Did you see that? They had 8 inches of snow in the Gulf Coast, Destin, and Pensacola.
Everybody should get a chance once in a while.
Why not? Yeah.
But
I
hey,
mean-
check this out. It's
Oh,
Valentine's Day
another
tomorrow. I
one.
did this one.
Oh, that's so cute. Oh, that's pretty deep, Carl.
Yeah, roses are red, the earth is wide. You'd look so much better by my side.
Oh, that's adorable. I love it. I would post that if you turn it into a meme. Send it to me. I'll post it tomorrow for Valentine. Oh, that is so cute.
Perfect. I'll send it to you on Facebook.
Okay. Are
Sorry
we being
for pestering
heard?
you earlier.
Is this being...
Oh, this is just break time. Everybody's
Break
just walking
time.
the dogs
Okay.
for Pete. Yeah.
That I love that. That is so... You are very talented.
That's why we call it dirty filth around here.
It's cat snack time, everybody. I'll make sure the cats get extra snacks. Okay, have a good night, everyone.
Tell Blob she needs to make an appearance soon.
Please send that to me. That is great. He's a talent. My goodness.
Oh yeah, he's very talented.
You should turn that into merch, like magnets and things. Stickers.
Well, that's his thing. We don't want to take away. That's how he partially makes a living. Here we go, my friend.
Okay.
Here we go with the second hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. I always appreciate turning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Iamatology. Iamatology is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Now, let's get back to our guest. Her website, who's who in the cosmiczoo.com. Ella Lebain is here. She's a researcher. She's an author. She does many, many things that help promote contact and what it's all about. Ella, welcome back.
Thank you, Dave.
Are we ready for disclosure? Are we ready for ET contact?
Well, it depends who you ask. The retired Israeli space chief, Chaim Eshed, who turned whistleblower at age 88 in 2020, basically came, and everybody was under the pandemic back then, so it was kind of a below the radar, but it did make news. He basically said that the United States and Israel were in working agreements with the Galactic Federation on Earth, and that President Trump knew about it, and that they were sharing astronauts on a Mars base, underground Mars, and that he wanted to tell the public about them, not once but twice in 2015 as well, but he was told not to, not necessarily by humans, but by the Galactic Federation, who told him that we humans, Earth humans, were not ready for the alien reveal, to know about all who they were and what they were about. So in answer to your question, I would say probably no for the most part, and here's why. So look at what's happening on the Earth. Look at what's been going on in Israel, in Gaza. Look at what's been going on in South Africa. Look at what's been going on in the Ukraine and other places. If humans can't accept other humans for whatever differences, religious differences, color, race, history, family, tribe, you name it, how can we, as Earth humans, be expected to handle and accept ET, who is probably different than us? Maybe they'll look alike, okay? Because we know this. This is a thing, this is a fact, that the extraterrestrials are human. Some of them are human. And that the Bible, back to the Bible narrative, it tells us that every time the angels, whether they were fallen angels or faithful holy angels that served heaven, the kingdom of heaven, every time they came to earth, they always showed up as men. There was only one instance in the biblical narrative where they showed up as a female, as a woman. Okay? But suffice to say, they show up as humans, okay? Which is why a lot of us, Earth humans, can't tell the difference, because you could be on a train, on a plane, on a bus, and they're sitting right next to you, and they look just like us. So how do you know who's a real ET and who's a human? Because they come as human. Now, if they're coming, there's another scripture in the Bible, and this is very important. It says, be careful, be kind, be careful when you entertain strangers, because you may be entertaining angels unaware. So always be kind, because that's something that they're looking for in us, is kind-hearted human beings, humans that know how to treat each other with kindness and courtesy and respect and love. Because love is the universal language. And we're on the eve of Valentine's Day. So we should be talking about love. So that is one very huge, big, fat reason why the Galactic Federation on Earth had told the Israeli space chief that we, Earth humans, weren't ready for them because of the way we treat each other. So if we treated each other better, if we were able to make peace instead of war, and accept people for their differences and not judge them or kill them or genocide them, maybe we'd move a notch up to be able to handle contact with extraterrestrial races. That's my opinion.
That sounds very, lack of a better term, it sounds very unique. It sounds very, peace, love, and light, but that isn't the world we live in, unfortunately. And the aliens that are out there, the ETs, the NHIs, whatever you want to call them, many of them do have their own agendas that we don't seem to fully grasp or understand. I mean, there's the Greys who take you for science experiments. There's also the Greys that are there to lead you to the Pleiadians, to the peace, love, and light, to the higher consciousness, and everything that kind of goes in between. I still believe that this is a very personal journey. I don't believe it's a group journey. It's not a beehive mentality regarding this subject. When you add in other subjects of mainstream religion, doesn't matter whether you're a Christian, Catholic, Buddhist, Muslim, or whatever. I mean, they've all been taught over the years that anything that comes from the sky or anything that's different is evil. It's demonic. It's there to harm humanity. I mean, the blinders have been on for centuries. So how do we seem to get around that? I mean, we could sit here and say, well, if everybody would treat people the way they want, if everybody would just, be kind to each other. And I get that. I want that in that utopic society. I think everybody does. But there's a reality here. And I think that reality is something that makes this unique to each and every individual. My experiences are not like yours. They're not like our listeners who have seen a UFO or been abducted or anything. If there was some sort of unique pattern that everybody was kind of experiencing the same thing, I would totally agree with you. But it's just not like that.
You're right. I agree with you. It is a multi-layered, multi-dimensional reality that we are all part of. I mean, it's quite astonishing. And the Earth, the way where everything is, there's 11 dimensions to this planet, and we live in one of them. So there are these other dimensions that coexist with us we don't know enough about. Okay, and sometimes we have bleed throughs where they come and go, and you see them, and then they disappear. You're right. It is a multi-layered situation, but we have an exopolitical situation because they're not just contacting people, through abductions and doing all the nefarious things that we already talked about, but they're also doing stuff like showing up on nuclear facilities all around the world, not just here in America, and interfering with technology because they're trying to prevent a nuclear disaster. So that's the benevolent ones, in my opinion, because maybe they're not like, oh, love and light and all that, but they certainly don't want us to blow ourselves up, and they have a stake or a claim in the planet because they coexist with us. So I don't think it's a coincidence that after World War II, when the Americans dropped the bombs on Japan, that all of a sudden all these UFO sightings and crashes and aliens and Roswell and Socorro and all this stuff happened after that, because it woke up some beings inside the earth, and they went, whoa, they have that? So we can't let that happen again. And, based on the history, like what I found out, through my research, is that the good guys, the good ETs, the human ones, call them Pleiadian, call them Venusian. I mean, there are beings on Venus, all right? I have to say that. There are human ETs that live inside of the planet Venus. So people say, oh, Venus, how can anybody live on Venus? It's so hot. How can anybody live on Mars? Earth is unique, okay? We have this magnetosphere, okay, that allows us to live on the surface. And this is another thing I found in my research, is that most planets are inhabited from within, because inside it's like the planet is like a big spaceship, because it protects you from the deleterious gamma rays of space. We live on the surface, okay, but we also have dwellers that live inside the planet. So the Venusians that showed up and appeared in our Pentagon, and appeared to Eisenhower and Nixon and said, hey, we have the technology that we can give you, that no one in your nation, your country, your world, whatever, would need to be sick or be diseased, or if they got injured, they would get healed right away. But we want you to just take down the nukes. And we'll give you all of this. You can have it all, but please take down the nukes. And they said no. Okay, that's a pivotal point in our timeline of disclosure, and why we don't have it the way we want it, the way people are, advocating for it, is because they said no. They didn't want to upset the apple cart, the status quo, put the pharmaceutical businesses out of business, whatever. They said no. So what happened after that? The negative ETs approached them and said, hey, we'll give you space tech. We'll give you spaceships. We'll help you build an interstellar fleet. You can go in and out of the solar system. But let us abduct, hey, 50 people. Here you go. Here's a list of 50 people. And after that, we're done. But they didn't keep their agreement. Okay, they didn't stop at 50. They just kept going. Okay, and they gave them some BS story that, they couldn't progenate anymore, and they needed human DNA to help them because they couldn't progenate, so they needed, it was basically an alien human hybridization program, which is why the abductions have been happening, why people get their, the sperm and the eggs and the skin grafts and all that stuff. Okay, they didn't stop. And in the 1970s and 80s, there was a fight. There was a dog fight, with weapons and everything underground. And this was brought up to the surface by a whistleblower named Phil Schneider. Okay, and he came. You know about Phil Schneider, and
Yes.
he here in Colorado. He spoke here at the Global Sciences and showed. He lifted up his shirt and he showed us that he was shot by one of the Greys underground in this fight, and they lasered him, and he had this scar diagonally across his entire torso, and he knew that he was dying of cancer. And that's why he came. He broke all of his, NDAs and told everybody what was going on. And thank God he did. I see him as a hero. Okay, God bless him. May he rest in peace. Because if these whistleblowers didn't tell us anything, we'd be like mushrooms, sitting in the dark and fed you know what. All right. So we have to piece things together and see. Okay, there's a timeline here. They said no to the good ETs. They said yes to the negative ETs. And now here we are, fast forward 2025 and moving forward, thank God. Okay, we are moving forward. We are making progress with disclosure because now it's garnered the attention of the U.S. Congress. Now they have congressional committees. Now they have an oversight committee that is going to come out and tell us, this was just announced yesterday with one of the representatives who's put in charge of organizing it, Anna Paulina Luna, who's in charge of this oversight committee, that President Trump is going to authorize a lot of this stuff to come through her, and that is going to be the JFK files, the MLK, the RFK, COVID-19, UAPs, USOs, stuff coming out of the oceans. Now, I saw a USO come out of the ocean in 1995, which is what got me started down these rabbit holes. So there's some, and I have pictures I can show you if you want to see. We can do a screen share, but there's so much stuff coming and going inside the oceans, under the ocean bed, even and not just the water, the mountains too. They're coming and going in and out of the mountains. I mean, they have places where it looks like a mountain, it looks like a mine, it looks like, just regular old, rock and this, and then it opens up. And then there's, they have ships. There's interstellar ships. They've been amassing and building for 75 years. This is the big secret. So are we going to get full disclosure? Probably not, but we'll get bits and pieces as we've been getting. And we can piece it together.
But is that healthy? See, I don't believe we're in a disclosure movement. I believe we are in a confirmation movement. Disclosure to me is everything gets spilled, whether or not Eisenhower made the deal with ETs, what happened at Roswell, what happened at other crash sites, what was being hidden in Area 51, did Bob Lazar work there? Okay, all of those type of secrets, I believe, is true disclosure. I think the narrative is what scares many people, and others in this field are way too blind because they are sitting here saying, well, at least we're moving the ball forward. At least the ball is moving and it's going in the right direction. Well, it could go in the right direction if it's being pushed that way. But when you're trying to push a threat narrative on the public that these are bad and it's only happening in military installations and in the air and we only trust fighter pilots and other people involved in the military who've had these experiences. I mean, no offense to whistleblower Jake Barber, but here he is coming out about psionics. We have known about this for decades. And yet when we did it, we were all lunatics. He does it, he comes out, and everybody's like, oh my God, you could summon UFOs with your brain. How does he do this? What happens? What's the process? It's easy. Clear your consciousness. Have a clear heart and faith, meditate, look in the sky, and ask them to show. And Dr. Stephen Greer charges $3,500 a weekend for that.
Well, you see, so I agree with you that it's I like that confirmation instead of disclosure. Disclosure, also another word is revelation. Okay, like the big reveal. So here's a discernment I want to share with you.
Sure.
Back to what Chaim Eshed told us. And he wrote a book, The Universe and Beyond the Horizon. And so he put a lot of the crashes in the book, and that these crashes were happening all around the world. And this was published in 2020, 3 years before David Grush went before the U.S. Congress to disclose what he knew. And one of the things that he told the Congress in July of 2023 was about a Magenta, Italy, 1933 crash. Remember that? Well,
Yes.
that showed up in Chaim Eshed's book. So that was like a confirmation there. Okay. And he wrote that the Germans took it. Okay. They confiscated all of the materials from Magenta, Italy, and brought it back to Germany. They took over. So, we could talk about all of that, but I'm just saying that what he spoke about was a galactic federation on Earth. And that's what I wanted to tell you. So I'm sure you've heard the term Galactic Federation of Light, Galactic Federation of Worlds. They have all these different terms that are out there. But his was very specific because it was in Hebrew. It was very specific, Galactic Federation on Earth. So this is a group of beings that they're working with, the good ETs that are helping them, okay, to combat, to battle, to compete with, whatever word you want to put there, the negative ETs. So it's not all a threat. And part of I would like make an assessment or assumption and opinion. I don't know this for sure. Who does really, unless you're working with them? But we know from the whistleblowers, like for instance, William Tompkins, who was working side by side with these human ETs that were helping the US government against these negative guys. All right. So there's factions. And that's part of why they don't want to disclose everything, because, people would just go nuts. Right? Like, who are these beings? They would want them. And the very same thing happened. I'm reminded of this story in the Bible that happened right before the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, where these angels showed up and all they wanted to do was have sex with them. And they were banging on the doors to get them. Okay. So can you imagine if they showed up, like the good ones, the good ETs, and they're all, sexy looking in their space suits and their perfect bodies and their superhero look, and people just went crazy. Okay, but that's what he describes them to look like, the human ETs that are helping this government, our government, and the Israeli government to help them to fight against the negatives. So flip side, I have information. I uncovered research that I published in my 4th book, Covenants, about what happened during World War II with Hitler. Okay, so go back to the Magenta, Italy crash. The Germans, 1933, they took that. They took it all, brought it back to Germany, and they were working on reverse engineering alien technology. And they ended up in Antarctica. Okay, so Antarctica is where a lot of this stuff has been done, okay, because it's it's away from everything. And then, of course, the allies, the Americans and the Russians, were allies in World War II, so they inherited the spoils of that war. And what did they inherit?
Hello, Lebain, for the next half hour on Spaced Out Radio.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
What did they inherit? You cut out there for a minute. Hold on, let me get your mic on. What did they inherit?
They inherited the spoils of war, which was the reverse engineered alien tech from the Nazis in the New Schwabiland base in Antarctica.
Gotcha.
Did that
Works for me, man.
okay. I mean, there's a ton of research that pulls all that together and proves it. And, you know, I mean, I'm not just pulling things out of a hat here, but that's kind of like that's what happened. And when you piece it together, you know, with what Chaim Eshad said, with what David Grush said, with what other researchers have uncovered, it corroborates. Like you say, it's confirmation.
Well, you know what? It's a disclosure to me has become a very ugly word.
Why is that?
Because if you look at the whole setup right now, there is all of these different cliques that are out there, these groups that are vying for the disclosure movement jobs and the publicity and the money that's involved. It's not about people like you and me anymore. It's not about the public. It has nothing to do with that.
Mm-hmm.
It's the 7-year pushing of the threat narrative combined with now they're using social media influencers to get their message across. And, you know, it's all a big game. It's all a big setup. And, you know, these people, you know, who made their livings, many of them, off of the backs of people like you and me and our great listeners, they are now controlling who says what to who. And it's become a millionaires club and a billionaires club.
Well, I'm not in it. I don't know about that.
I got to do a show on this because when we break it down, it's very interesting. You know, and if more people paid attention to what was actually happening in the UFO, pardon me, not the UFO, because UFO people are good, in the UAP world. Okay, because ufology died in 2017. Then we became U-apology.
That's a good one. U-apology.
How you doing? Jerry Carter, good to see you. And look, I know there's a lot of people out there who don't agree with me. But the one thing as a journalist that I have noticed over the years is I follow patterns. And if you follow the patterns of the information, the same people are interviewing the same people. And if you look at the YouTube numbers, many of these people who are being interviewed will not go on a 27,000 subscriber YouTube channel. They won't go on Coast to Coast AM. They won't go on, a radio show for a quick hit. But what they will do is they will go on Joe Rogan. They will go on Jesse Michaels. They will go on Chris Ramsey. They will go on Julian Dory, Logan Paul, and many others. The pattern here is let's influence the public to our narrative, which right now is a threat narrative, combined now with a psionic narrative, and let's take control of U-apology.
U-apology. Ooh, I'm going to remember that. That's a very good term. I like that. Well, you know, there's a lot of Monday morning quarterbacking, as they say, backpedaling, because there's a demand. Now Congress is involved. I mean, now they got committees and all of this. And I never thought that there was ever going to be full disclosure because it doesn't make any sense. But there will be pieces. And I do believe that, you know, it is leading to something. And this ties into the prophecies, the end time prophecies. So, I mean, people need to get ready emotionally and mentally and spiritually for that. And
Hold on. We're
yeah.
going to come back in 7 seconds here. Hold on.
Oh, okay. So none of that was taped. Okay. That's just you and me. Cool. We can repeat it.
Here we go. Here we go in the second half of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. We always appreciate you tuning us on in, especially when you're wearing tinfoil pajamas. Hey, I want to remind all of you that if you miss portions of this show or others, check out our free archives on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Final time tonight, we say hello to Ella Lebain, her website, who's who in the cosmiczoo.com. You can find her books there. Yeah, she's got a great series of the Who's Who of the Cosmic Zoo book collection. Ella, thank you so much for being here tonight. I've had so much fun with you.
Thanks, Dave. It's always great to talk to you.
Getting back to the confirmation/disclosure movement, in your opinion, what are the positives and what are the negatives? Let's say, that's a big question. That's a vague question. Pardon me.
That's okay.
Let's get from a personal standpoint. The regular audience member who is listening right now, what is good for them and what is bad for them?
Well, again, we need to put on glasses of discernment. We need to learn discernment. There's an old saying, you teach what you need to learn. And that's what I've been doing because I had to learn that and I'm still learning that. And I think that's the collective lesson of all of us, is that history will prove that. And history is important because history shows us patterns, okay? And we have to learn from history. And the problem is that people don't learn from history, which is why it repeats itself. So there's times in our past where a lot of this stuff has happened already. Okay, the fallen angel story, for instance, it's in the Bible. It's also in these exo-biblical books, like the books of Enoch and the books of Jubilee and the war books and all of that. And it tells a story, and the Sumerians. And we've had contact already, okay? And somehow there was a lot of things went wrong. And it wasn't just the first time this happened, because there were 2 floods in the Bible. So the Bible begins after the first flood. So it's like Genesis 1-2, and the Spirit hovered over the waters of the earth, and then everything got recreated. But what happened before that? That was the floods of Atlantis and Lemuria. So cyclically speaking, okay, that era, that age is coming back. Okay, it's already kind of come back, where a lot of people have said, oh, America is like the new Atlantis. So what happened back then is happening again. And what happened then, and then there was the second flood. So the second flood, the floods of Noah, we call it, happened because these they call them fallen angels. They were basically ETs, sons of heaven, 200 of them, and they're all named in the book of Enoch, came to earth. And they were in a rebellion to the Creator God. So they came to earth to basically control and teach. They taught humans, so humans thought they were gods. So that is a problem, okay? Because they're not gods. So that's a dangerous place, is to worship these beings or think that they're gods, because we've already gone through that. And we need to learn from those 2 important pieces of history and how it ended up. Didn't end up well, okay? So this time around, as we're coming close to the big, look, the book of Revelation, all right, in Greek is apocalypse, which means revelation. It also means disclosure. It's like a thesaurus word. It's all one and the same. So confirmation, disclosure, revelation is happening now again. All right. And we're coming in contact again with these same ancient beings. They've changed a bit, okay, because they got cursed. They ended up in the bellies of the earth. They ended up in different bodies. Some of them are in the reptilian bodies, the gray bodies, which is why the grays lost their progeny. There's something to that story because it corroborates with the past. So we need to learn discernment here. We can't just have contact with just about any alien because they're not all on the same page and they're not all benevolent towards us. All right. So we need to, endeavor, like this needs to be a conscious decision, is to seek the good ones. Okay. And connect with them. So just because somebody can do this psionic stuff and pull down the ships, how do you know who's in those ships? This is what I say when I hear all these stories. It's like, well, who are these beings that are connected, and why are they connecting with those people who are doing that? Why are they using them as their chosen messenger, so to speak, okay, and not everybody else? Because there's tons of people out there that want to have contact, as you said at the beginning of the show, and they don't. They're like, oh, I never see a ship. I never see this. How come it doesn't happen to me, but it happens to them? All right. So what is it about them, and who are these beings that are doing this to keep it? It's a part. I believe that there's a mass deception going on with respect to this. And because there's, and I know you know that, and there's factions. So we need to focus or desire, if the desire, conscious desire is a thing in the universe, then look and seek. Because like it says, Jesus says, seek and you will find. So seek. You have not because you ask not. So ask. Okay. So we have to ask for the benevolence to show up. And we have to make some sort of a thing where we go, okay, well, if you're not the good ones, I want to know about it. I don't want you in my space. I just want the good ETs, because we know that they're there. Okay, we know that there's good aliens and good ETs, and we know that they're helping. This is based on the whistleblower testimony. We have to take that seriously. They're helping the governments to arm them against the negatives. So what I was telling you before the break was that I uncovered research that the reptilians gave Hitler a ship. Okay, they gave him a spaceship. All right, and they gave him technology to help him genocide the Jews. So you have to think, why would they want to do that? Okay, so those are not the good guys. You don't want to align with them. And there are people on the surface of this planet that are. Whether they're doing it consciously or subconsciously is another question.
Let's get to some audience questions here.
Okay.
Let's start off with Kim. How did you learn about the inner Earth aliens?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, I'm a connect the dot person. So I collect information and then I connect the dots. So they're in the Bible, number one. So they're there. And I pull all those scriptures out in discernible English and put them in my books so people could connect those dots themselves. But also the fact of the evidence, and my witness is that I saw a ship come out of the Gulf. Well, it used to be the Gulf of Mexico. Now it's the Gulf of America. And I was on Indian Rocks Beach in April 1995 and after sunset, and I saw this metallic disc-shaped craft emerge out of the ocean. Okay, and it hovered for like less than a minute. All the sea foam was coming off of it, and it shot up into the sky like in a New York second. And I saw it become a star, and that's what started me. So it's like it came from inside the ocean. So I was pieced it together. They must be inside the earth. That's number one. And number two, there's mythology. There's stories from the past, like Shambhala and Agartha, of all these stories. And then there's Admiral Byrd. So he made a diary about this. Okay, he published it. This is a great story. He published it because he went and his plane ended up getting sucked into the hole of the North Pole by accident. He didn't do it purposely. He was flying over the North Pole. Now you can't fly over that space. It's like, it's a no-fly zone. But he got sucked in, went into the belly of the earth, and he met these aliens. And his plane was broken. They fixed his plane for him, and they sent him back up the hole. And he wrote about it. He had a whole diary that was published in National Geographic, I think in like 1930 something or 20 something. And our government went and bought every single copy up because they did not want the public to know about this. And that was the end of that. But the diary still exists. I published parts of it in my first book. So he talked about these aliens inside the earth. So there's a lot of story, a lot of corroboration, a lot of confirmation about that.
All right, let's go to another question here from our audience. Go to Andromedan. Do you know where God resides?
God lives in you. God lives in me. Right now, he's here. He's right here with us. God is spirit, and he wants to dwell within us. If you open up and you're open to that, he will dwell within you. And then he'll show you stuff. So if you're asking where he is physically, he's in the third heaven. Okay? So there's 10 heavens. And my latest book, Heaven's Witness, connects the dots to what the Book of Enoch talked about, which are 10 heavens. And I connected the dot to what Michio Kaku said several years ago about 11 dimensions. So if you interchange the word dimension and heaven, you can maybe have understanding of these different dimensions that are considered heaven. So like the Bible talks about, there's heaven inside the earth. Okay, so they call it Abraham's bosom or paradise, but it's not up in the sky, it's under our feet. So, God lives in these different dimensions, and the throne is in the third heaven, according to what the Bible says. But, at the end of this age, he's coming to earth. That's what the prophecy says, that he is going to come, and it's described in such detail in Revelation 21 and 22, that there is a city of God where he resides, where he sits on a throne, and he is going to bring it to earth, and the earth is going to get scorched. So it's going to land on a scorched earth. It has 12 gates, 12 doors, 12 gates. Each one is named after these 12 tribes of Israel, the blessed tribe. There's one that got cursed. He's not in there. The Lord sits in the middle on a throne and will restore the earth, but not to where it used to be. He's going to create heaven on earth. So he's going to end up residing right here over the earth. And this city is called the New Jerusalem, and it's described to me as a phantasmagorical mothership with jewels and sapphire floors. It's pretty amazing if you read about it. It's in Revelation 21 and 22.
All right, let's move to another question here. Let's go to Kim. What are the mechanics of taking your energy? How does that work?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, so they call it loosh, which is our life force. And so, like, for instance, think about a narcissist, the psychological narcissist that manipulates and blame shifts and gaslights and does all this stuff to get your goat, to get your energy. Okay, so the aliens work through that. There is a spirit and an actual alien physical thing, a leviathan that lives inside the earth that has created this spirit. It's the leviathan spirit, or the twisted serpent spirit. We're living in the year of the snake right now, the Chinese New Year, that just happened. So when you think of the snake, like a python, it coils, right? So the year of the snake is the snake uncoils. All right. So it's always a year. Every time we have a year of the snake, it's a year of revelation, because the stronghold that the python usually has, where it just like sucks the breath out of you, which is this type of a spirit that is in these lizard reptilian aliens, will just recoil in this year. That's part of the prophecy, and that's why we're moving forward in. I know you don't like the word disclosure, but there's disclosure not just of UFOs. Disclosure of other things are happening too, like healthcare and long-held secrets and things that people have been held back by and been told lies. For instance, they believe the lie is the truth and the truth is the lie. That's a twisted serpent spirit doing that. So the year of the snake, it uncoils, and then the lie gets revealed and the truth gets known. And that's what you're calling confirmation. Because, like, for instance, like vaccines, okay? We've known that the vaccines were bad for us, but back then they said they were good.
A bit on this show, sorry.
Okay, so anything to do with healthcare, let's just leave it at that. It's unraveling.
Yes. Sorry about that. I don't
No problem. No problem.
The Andromedan is asking, what do you know about Andromedans?
Well, I have a chapter on them in my first book, in the A to Z, about who the aliens are. And, what I did in the book was I categorized, they were either, the aliens either fell into the reptilian draconian hierarchy or the human vine. So the Andromedans are in the human vine. Okay, the human vine meaning that they came from Lyra, which was where the humans were first created, according to a lot of stuff that I pulled together. Atlantean, but suffice to say, they're benevolent.
Love it. Love it. Let's go to Sierra. If the ETs were so advanced at Sodom and Gomorrah, why weren't they able to protect themselves physically from the human perverts?
Okay, so I had to read that again because I don't think they were so advanced. They were fallen angels that were running amok. Then the good angels came to try to save some of the humans that God wanted to save. Okay, so they did protect those humans from the pervs, and that's what the story says. But the problem was so systemic that they came to warn them that they were basically going to get nuked, and that's what happened. Call it a do. Can you say that?
Sure.
Direct energy weapon that came from space. And that's what ended up happening. We have evidence of it because where Sodom and Gomorrah was, nothing can grow there. The ground, is hard. It's like glass, which is evidence of some nuclear meltdown, which is basically corroborating, confirming the Bible story. And by the way, like I was saying earlier about how things repeat themselves, it's in the End Time Prophecy for the Antichrist that he has the power to pull down fire from heaven, which you can say is biblical speak for a nuke. Same thing that happened in Sodom and Gomorrah. So,
and theoretical physicist Dr. John Brandenburg believes that same type of incident happened on Mars, which wiped out any sort of civilization there.
Yes, I agree with that. And they lost their atmosphere too.
Yes.
Yes.
Let's go over to Sierra again. Why were these beings cursed?
Great question. Because they rebelled against their creator God. It's that simple. It's just like, parents and children. When a child rebels and rebels and rebels and doesn't, and you can't correct them, and you give them every single chance there is to correct them, and they don't, well, they get cursed. They curse themselves just by doing that. Okay, so the story about what happened in Atlantis is part of where this stems from, because they were cursed because they went against the laws of creation. They were mixing and matching different species together. They were genetically hybridizing and manipulating the creation that God had already set. And that's why he wiped them out. And then they came back and did it again, because history repeats itself. God bless you. So that's pretty much why they were cursed, out of they rebelled, and they just didn't want to follow. There's laws of creation. I mean, there's certain things that shouldn't be mixed.
We got 3 minutes left. Let's go to 2 quick questions here. Ella wants, or JSCO wants to know, what are your thoughts on Chris Bledsoe's White Lady?
Oh my. Okay, everyone's been asking me that lately. I wrote this whole thing about it. All right, in 3 minutes. So first of all, he's making false prophecies that do not align with the biblical prophecies, that the lady is going to come and save, and that there's going to be 1,000 years of peace because the lady is coming. No, the Messiah, the son of Joseph, the son of David, the Mashiach ben David, the Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus Christ, is a son. He's a king. He's a king of the universe. Okay, he's a king. He's a son, not a lady. Now I'm a woman, and I'm a feminist, and I believe in women's empowerment. But the prophecy is very specific that it's a man, it's a king that is coming to save us. So what they're trying to do, again, is twist. It's a twisted serpent spirit that has got a hold of him, because I've seen all the stuff he said, and the prophecy is being twisted to believe that it's a lady. Now, if you look at who he is and where he's come from and what happened to him, he fits into that category that we were talking about earlier, about how he's opened himself up for this. Okay, for the counterfeit, for the aliens are really good at this. They're counterfeiting. So he was down on his luck. He was his business was down. He was broke. He was broken. And he goes out and he goes, if anyone is out there, please show yourself and help me. Okay. He didn't address the king of the universe. He didn't go straight to God. He said anyone, just left it open. And that's what you need to, that's what happens. And then the spirit comes in, and it's a counterfeit spirit. It's the same thing as what happened at the Fatima. Okay, they were aliens that were using holographic technology to deceive these children because they were innocent and they were pliable and they were vulnerable, and to create this false narrative to rebel against what God's prophecies are very clear, that the Messiah is a son, that the Messiah is a king, and he's definitely not a lady. So I think he's completely off on that.
Not going to have time for the final question, but
yeah.
I want to say a big thank you for coming on Spaced Out Radio tonight. It's been way too long, Ella. We're going to do it again soon, okay?
Thank you very much for having me. I always enjoy talking to you.
Me too. Ella Lebain, who's who in the CosmicZoo.com is her website. Swamp Dwellers next, and little Timmy James right around the corner.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
Ella, thank you very much, my friend.
Thank you, Dave. I really mean it. It's great talking to you. We're like-minded. We think alike. It's really good. It's a blessing. Thank you very much.
Much love to you, my friend.
Much love to you. Happy Valentine's.
You too. Take care.
Thank you. See you soon.
Hello, Lebain, everybody. We're going to take a quick break. All right, I'm back. Oh, little Timmy James. Unmute your microphone.
Okay, how's that?
Yeah, that's usually better. We can hear you.
Excellent.
What was that finger you were showing me there?
My thumb?
No?
Oh, that one?
Yeah, that one right there. Happy birthday.
Hey, buddy. Hey. How's it going tonight, sir?
Good, man.
Excellent.
Good. I had a good day today.
Oh, right on.
I had a good day.
Excellent.
I didn't get home until after 6:30, but I had a good day.
Oh, wow. Stacking them deep and selling them cheap.
You know.
Hmm.
Hold on a second here. I just want to see something. Here. Do. Broken Shadow Feather, how you doing? How was your day, little Timmy James?
Yeah, it was probably not as good as yours, but I mean, could have been worse. Just one of those days.
All right, we got like 5 seconds, brother.
Yep.
Here we go with the final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We always appreciate you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Iamatology. Iamatology is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's head to the swamp.
Hello and welcome to Spaced Out Radio's Swamp. I'm Swamp Dweller, and tonight I'm going to take you on a mystic journey of the unknown, sharing tales of monsters, legends, and nightmares. Welcome to the Spaced Out Radio Swamp. I'm a 14-year-old male from Grand Junction, Colorado. I'm 6'1" and a previous smoker. I was an irresponsible teen back then, but I have changed. Anyway, me, my cousin, and brother went to a nearby small forest that we called the Glade so we could smoke because our parents didn't allow it. The forest is only about 2 miles from the outskirts of my town, and barely any cars are on the road here at night, so we weren't worried about getting caught. We started walking to the small forest about a half a mile long and a quarter mile wide, and we found the entrance to one of my favorite spots. If you walk about 5 minutes in, you'll see a giant pit that looks like a giant foot. By the time we got there, it was pretty much dark. I lit a fire and sat down and started to get high. I only took one hit when I heard a crash coming from the end of the forest. I panicked at first, but eventually I calmed down and smoked some more. There was a second crash, but this time it was closer. The crash continued again and again, getting closer with each time. We started panicking, stood up and started walking back to the dimly lit road and halted in our tracks. I saw this thing under the street lamp that was flickering. It moved in one fluid motion into the tree line. We walked on the other side of the street and this stench washed over us like compost on fire in a trash can. It was revolting, to say the least. We continued up the road until we hit a crossroad that turned left, heading into a bridge that was like 20 feet from the woods. I turned my head and saw a hand grasping a tree, its head poking out. I'm 6'1", but this thing towered over me by at least 5 feet. I felt as though its yellow eyes were looking into my soul. This monstrosity let out a blood-curdling scream, and I yelled to run. We took off so fast I sprained my ankle. I retched in pain and stopped and turned around and saw this thing fully in the street lamp. It was disgusting. It looked as if its flesh was melting off, and it started to steam, like taking the lid off a boiling pot. It stood up and looked at me. Right before my eyes, it had my brother's shoe and turned into him. It yelled to come here and that he wasn't going to hurt me, but it sounded like a person from a different country speaking English. I thought of saying, "Begone, Skinwalker," but the only thing that came out was a low lion-like roar. It looked at me and tilted its head and dropped the shoe and fled back into the woods. I keep hearing it now at night. It's been 4 months since then.
Thank you, Swamp Dweller, for the great story. If you want more just like that, head on over to YouTube, type in Swamp Dweller, and hit subscribe, ring that bell, because it's pretty good stuff over there, and it's free. Who doesn't like free these days? There's not enough free in this world. Let's get to the UFO report.
That is an interplanetary space saucer. You have made me very angry. Very angry indeed.
Timmy James here for the UFO report. It's abbreviated just till the bottom of the hour, but we're glad to have you here, Tim. How you doing?
Not too bad, sir. Not too bad. How about yourself?
I'm doing good, man.
That's
Doing
great.
good. Yeah, had a good chat with Samantha Mowat and Merle today.
Oh, right on.
Yeah. So, you got to make sure all the peeps you care about are doing well. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. I'm still giving my finger wag at Samantha because she never did answer me back for your 10th anniversary video. Everybody was trying to go. So I'll have to give her heck when I see it.
I won't hold it against her.
No, I'm sure she's busy doing a lot of stuff, so not a problem.
What do we have in the UFO report tonight?
Oh, I'm just going to go into some fun kind of stories that I've been talking about probably for the last week that we kind of never get to. But yeah, everything that I went through today and stuff is a lot of regurgitation of the new reveals and all this sort of stuff. So yeah, nothing really jumped off the page when I was going through it, and I didn't want to bore everybody, I guess, with the same report over and over again. So found some cool stuff, but nothing about eating aliens tonight. I mean, last night that was enough. They taste like metal, apparently. So this
Oh, we're back at that again.
No, we're leaving it alone. We're leaving it alone. So this happened just outside or just around Mount St. Helens in Washington, Washington State, back in February of 1999. So on a Thursday morning, just minutes before 12 p.m. in February of 1999, 3 forestry employees planting young trees in the Mount St. Helens region of Washington State experienced an event they couldn't easily explain. Initially, the trio spotted what they assumed was a parachute meandering through the sky. Realizing their mistake, they called over their 11 team members who were working on a nearby hillside. Together, all 14 of them focused their attention on the descending object for an estimated duration of about 3 to 5 minutes. The disc-shaped object moved in what seemed to be a deliberate manner, even displaying a slight instability in its flight pattern. Not long after this sighting, the workers noticed the object was making its way towards a herd of elk they had been monitoring throughout the morning. So the object advanced until it was alarmingly close to the herd, which seemed oblivious to its presence until the very last moment. So panic erupted among the herd of animals, sending most of them sprinting up a nearby slope. However, one lone adult elk appeared to trot away from the group and was rapidly positioned directly under the mysterious object. Witnesses say the object then lifted the elk into the air. Remarkably, there was no visible mechanism supporting the animal as it ascended. After capturing the elk, the object's flight seemed less stable displaying greater instability than before. Moreover, the elk, which was suspended upright, slowly rotated underneath the object, appeared to inch closer to the underside. The object also seemed to expand in size and slightly at this point. Beginning its ascent with the elk still dangling below, the object moved upward along the tree line or treeless slope facing east. Witnesses say it grazed the treetops before reversing its course to move westward. The object then executed a complete 360-degree left turn, possibly gaining some altitude during the maneuver. Following its full rotation, the object increased its speed and shot upward at a sharp angle, disappearing from the line of sight of the onlooking crew. Once it had reached a height beyond the viewing capabilities, the elk was no longer visible beneath the object. The crew assumed the animal had been integrated into the interior of the craft, despite not seeing any doorway or opening in the object where this could have happened. The puzzling event has left witnesses baffled and questioning what they had seen that fateful Thursday in February of 1999. One of the most well-known types of animal UFO interactions are cattle mutilations, where livestock are found with surgical-like incisions and missing organs, often with no clear explanation. However, these do not typically involve witness accounts of cattle being abducted by UFOs. So, yeah, I was kind of, all right, we're going to capture an elk. Bet you it didn't taste like metal.
Just goes to show that the aliens, when they take something, are very non-discriminatory.
Absolutely. They're equal
Doesn't matter if
opportunity
it's
abductors.
Doesn't matter if it's elk.
Well,
You know, when you got Cannibal Joe over there eating the graze up on the old barbecue, and now they're going after some good game there. I wonder if they have to have a license.
Yeah. Excuse me. Do you have a limited entry tag for that?
I was just going to say that. What's your LHT? You know, can we see what year that expires?
That's right. Equal opportunity abductors. That's pretty nice of you.
Do they just beam into the sports store to get your tag and then all of a sudden just say, you know, steal one? Because that would be thievery. Don't they have to be ready?
Yeah, exactly. Nice disguise, Harry. Like everybody's gonna know that you're not human.
Come on, Phil. Just zoom in there and get one of them elk tags.
Yeah, I heard it's real good eating.
Oh my. What's next?
I got another story. This one is actually not so humorous, I suppose, but this is a story of Hillary Porter, and this has been run around the mill, I think, quite a while, or for a lot of years, because this happened they never gave a precise year, so somewhere in the early 50s. So Hillary Porter is a British woman who became well known for her claims of repeated extraterrestrial abductions throughout her life. According to her, these incidents began when she was only 5 years old, living in the outskirts of Aldershot, England. Hillary Porter claims that her first experience with an alien abduction occurred when she was just 5 years old, although she has not publicly stated the exact year this incident took place. We can make an approximate estimation based on her age. Porter is generally reported to be in her late 60s to early 70s. If we assume this, she's around 70 years old, then her birth year would have been around 1951. So this would have taken place in about 1956. In the first alleged encounter, Porter describes being in a field near her home when she suddenly experienced a popping sensation and was transported into a UFO. She has claimed that her abductors were green-skinned and reptilian in appearance, labeling them as reptilians. Surprise. Over the years, she insisted that she's been abducted many more times, each time returned with little memory of the events and often with mysterious marks or bruises on her body. According to Porter, the reptilians stand about 6 feet tall, have a humanoid form, but with reptile-like characteristics. They are said to have green, scaly skin, large black eyes with vertical slit pupils, much like those of a reptile, and somewhat of a flattened nose. Some of them are reported to have sort of a crest or a ridge on their heads. Porter also mentions that these beings have strong, well built bodies and long, powerful tails, which further adds to their reptilian appearance. Their hands are described as having 3 long, claw like fingers and an opposable thumb. They can open pickle jars. So, in addition to the physical description, Porter has spoken about their behavior and communication methods as well. She claims that the reptilians communicate telepathically and seem to have a collective consciousness, meaning they share thoughts and emotions with each other instantaneously. She has often depicted the craft as a classic flying saucer, round and disc-like in shape. On the inside, she described the craft as being much larger than it appeared from the outside, a common trope in many UFO abduction narratives. This bigger on the inside concept, while physically incongruous from an earthbound perspective, is often used in speculative fiction and alien lore to suggest advanced technology beyond our current understanding. She also mentioned a variety of rooms within the craft, including what she perceived to be a medical room where she claims to have been examined by these alien beings. This room was described as a stark and sterile, often equipped with unfamiliar technology and instruments. The craft's walls, according to Porter, were smooth and seamless without any visible joints or welding marks. She has mentioned on more than one occasion that the walls appeared to be alive or have a certain biological quality to them, again hinting at the technology far beyond human capabilities. Believers in extraterrestrial phenomenon often cite her case as evidence of alien contact, emphasizing the detail and consistency in her stories, as well as physical evidence like the aforementioned marks and strange unidentifiable objects she says were left under her skin. Skeptics, on the other hand, have raised numerous questions about the plausibility and veracity of Porter's claims. Some point to the lack of any independent confirmation or concrete evidence of these encounters. Others have suggested psychological explanations, such as sleep paralysis or hallucinations, which can also often involve vivid and strange experiences that feel completely real to those who experience them.
All about alien implantation there.
Yeah.
You know, you got aliens when you find weird pieces of metal underneath your skin.
Right. Yeah. So that was the first one I've seen in a long time about anything with an implant or mentioned an implant. So it was like, okay, that's kind of different, but yeah, kind of, interesting. So I've got another short one if you would like.
Yeah, we got 5 minutes.
Sure. So this one is a camping trip gone wrong. So in 19 I know, right? So yeah, everybody loves hearing these ones. So in 1976, 4 friends, Jack Wiener, Jim Wiener, Chuck Rack, oh my gosh, and Charlie Foltz embarked on a camping and fishing trip in the Allagash wilderness in Maine. However, their trip took a sinister turn when they disappeared without a trace. The authorities launched a search that lasted for 4 days before they eventually found the 4 men huddled together by the shore of Eagle Lake, disoriented and dazed. The 4 friends narrated their strange experience, which involved an encounter with a glowing sphere of light while fishing on the lake. The light moved closer, and they could see that it was a UFO. As they tried to paddle to safety, they became engulfed in a bright light and lost consciousness. They woke up back on the shore, unable to recall what happened between the light and wind. As the days went by, The men began to recall fragments of what happened during their missing time, telling a harrowing tale of their abduction by aliens. They remembered being taken aboard a spaceship and subjected to medical experiments, including an invasive procedure that involved a large needle being inserted into their bodies. The aliens were described as having large heads, insect-like eyes, and a telepathic ability to communicate. The Allagash abductions had a profound impact on the four men, who underwent hypnosis to recover more details about their experience. They all suffer from various degrees of PTSD and anxiety, which affected their lives significantly. Jim Weiner even went on to study UFO encounters and became a prominent figure in the field. While skeptics have offered alternative explanations, including the possibility of shared hallucination, the four men still maintain that their experience was real. The Allagash abductions continue to puzzle researchers, conspiracy theorists, and enthusiasts alike. Where are you going? It's the wieners in the rack.
I want to know where you're pulling these from.
Can't tell you. It's top secret. I'll let you know when we're not on the air. There's a ton of them.
Oh, goodness.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh,
yes. So
it's stories like that that seem too good to be true that I actually believe, because it's like when I was having my alien abduction, the first one I ever recalled.
Right.
I remember Lorian Fenton telling me about this. She goes, the way you describe that, she goes, normally I could tell when a story is really true. She goes, but I know yours is true because just nobody goes into detail like that.
Right. True. And it's
right. Which, by the way, I should quickly say, don't forget UFO Con in San Francisco coming up first weekend in April. Go to UFO Con 2025 on Google. You can book your tickets today. I will be there. So make sure you check that out.
Definitely. That's going to be busy. That's going to be a busy month and a half for you.
It's going to be fun.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Where are you going besides San Francisco and Vegas?
We got to go to Nebraska, and then we're going to Vegas. Little Timmy James is going to be there, giving his wave to everybody.
Yeah. Oh, walking down the strip.
You got that right. For people in Radioland who don't know, Tim is literally a waveaholic. He loves going in parades just so he can wave at strangers.
I still haven't made it to Grand Marshal, but I will. I'm determined.
Yeah.
Do it with two hands.
Still hate parades.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. Oh, yes. So interesting. Yeah, but like I say, there was not a lot of stuff going on in the UFO world today besides rehashing of Anna Paulina Luna's comments and people analyzing and reanalyzing and people coming. Yeah, it was a lot of one sort of lane of focus in the news today that I really couldn't. It was like after a while I was like, okay, that's enough. So I was glad to get to these fun little UFO stories and just kind of take a break from the repetitiveness of the of the news right now.
Well, you know what? Sometimes you need a refreshing break.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you need a refreshing break in order to, wait till the next World of Woo comes up. I don't know what it's going to take, but I do know that it's coming.
Oh, yeah. And there'll be a landslide.
Oh, every time.
Yeah.
Every time. Yeah. Tim, I want to say a big thank you for coming back. And we will talk to you next week, my friend.
You betcha. Good night, everybody. And we will see you on, I guess, Monday.
Little Timmy James on Spaced Out Radio. Day 101.
This is Spaced Out Radio and your host, Dave Scott.
Hi there, Mayhem. Hi there, Vanessa. I'm just sitting here being quiet. Hi, Sandra Kincaid. Moody Mongol. What's happening? I'm trying to think here. I did have tacos for dinner, Joe, so I was grazing. Didn't miss any jokes, Boss Monster. Oob. You know the funny part about it is when I say oob to Joe, he actually says oob out loud back. I knew it, Joe. I knew it. We got about 1 minute and 25 seconds. Thank you tonight to Lenda, Chill Farm, Mel WD40, Galactic J, Shelly, and Ange for the great super chats tonight. We greatly appreciate the love and support, everybody. Thank you. Don't forget you shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. Here we go with the final half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. The Dave 101 momentarily. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you for joining us. Hope you've had a fun night like we have tonight. Reminder to all of you that if you missed most of this show or others, you can check out our free archives on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. It's that time of the day, that time of the night, that time of the week, where I yell at all the punks out there to get off my lawn because it has snow on it, and I don't like tracks on my lawn. It's Dave 101.
Open up the door, it's Dave! Who? Dave, D-A-V-E! What is this?
Dave's not here. It's the Dave 101.
I can see you're really upset about this. I honestly think you ought to sit down calmly, take a stress pill, and think things over.
He's the killer! Yeah! He's the killer!
It's a mess.
You know, back in your dating days, way back when, where you had that psycho of a spouse or girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever you want to call them, that you just couldn't stand. And it always made you reminisce on the good old days with the one that got away. Do you remember those days? I do. Yes, I do. I think we all have that one love in our life that we miss so dearly about what could have been, but yet never was. Fate never brought you together for the long term. But while it lasted, it was beautiful. It was intense. Sure, there may have been bickering and arguments at times, but for the rest of us, we always look back and think, oh, what could have been? That's the way I feel about ufology. Not this you-apology crap that we have today that is being shoved down our throats by certain members of the media, by certain members of the influencer crowd, and by those who are allegedly coming out saying, this is the best for humanity. We're going to get this story out. But we're not going to talk to anybody in ufology because, you know, we don't need them. The one beef I have with modern ufology is this. They have become so governmental. They have become so much about the military, the technology, now the psionics, that they have forgotten what their populace is. You see, the To the Stars Academy back in 2017 made this same mistake. And I recall having this conversation with Lou Elizondo back in the day. And he stated one of the biggest mistakes the TTSA made was that they were anti-ufology. You have millions of people around the world who are into UFOs. They're supporting you. They're supporting the cause. They're behind you. Finally, someone has stepped up to the podium and said, this is real, but also pushed aside all the people, all the research, all the experiencers, and all the believers. because we don't want to be associated with that. We see the exact same thing playing out now as history repeats itself in 2025. Gone are the days of people doing the podcast, YouTube, and radio show tours. Very few of them in that elite UApology will actually do that. And yet, they are still counting on the support of the ufologists to try and move their platform forward. And you know what's stupid about it? Many people in ufology are falling for it. They're falling for it. Look, I'm not saying the people are bad in UApology. What I am saying is that the ufologists who fought so hard for decades to get this story out, to get it mainstream, to get people to start believing that UFOs and ET contact is real, now they're kowtowing to the government officials who are wanting to bring this to a threat narrative. Look, I know you guys are sick of hearing me about this threat narrative, but as long as it continues, we have to expose it for what it is. It's a cash cow. If we look at it from a military side, there is the technology that is coming, that if the United States or governments around the world do have this technology, which I believe they do, even though physically there is no proof outside of trust me, bro, then they're wanting to figure out how they can harness that technology to further their cause. This is why we are not seeing people such as, who knows, whistleblowers, such as people who've studied this subject for a while, actually get together to be part of a giant team. The UApologists who are leading the charge in this new UApology, they don't want us. This is why it's all about money. It is all about popularity. It is all about clicks. It is all about keeping the narrative alive. This is why we see whistleblowers not being like Lou Elizondo or Bob Lazar back in the day or whoever, just talking about this subject. You know, Elizondo's a great example of this. Love him or hate him, at least he did the tour, because whether he believed in ufology or not, take away his 2018 article where he said ufology must die, he still did the tour because he knew that the people who were going to support him and his ways was ufology. He learned from the TTSA. You don't have to like him, but at least he stepped up to the table to talk about this subject with YouTube channels, with podcasts, and so on and so forth. Good for him for doing that. We can't say the same for David Grush. So far, we can't say the same for Jake Barber or Randy Anderson or any other whistleblower who has come out. We can't say that. Okay, Jason Sands, you can, because he's starting to come on to this subject. He's starting to realize there are people who are wanting to believe him and wanting to support his journey into this field of going public. The one thing about ufologists and ufology people is they are passionate about this subject. They are passionate about the people who come out and say this is real. And the higher up they have in the military or the CIA or any other alphabet agency, the higher up they are, the more they are going to be supported. But UApology doesn't want that support. They want to tell their story, show off their brand. They are going to go to certain influencers because they understand that there is a social media presence where millions upon millions of people will watch an episode from Logan Paul or Joe Rogan or Julian Dory or Jesse Michaels. They will watch those and they will say, wow, I never knew this UAP stuff was real. I never knew. I thought this was all just science fiction. But these guys are talking about it, that it's real, and I'm going to pay attention. I remember years ago prior to this, when you would get, or I would get phone calls from new podcasters saying, Dave, how did you build spaced out radio? How did you make it sound a little bit different than everybody else? I said, I didn't name drop. Because most people who are new always name drop. They wanted the Richard Dolans, the Grant Camerons, the Linda Moulton Howes, the Melinda Leslies, the Jim Mars of the world back then. They weren't worried about the up-and-comers. They weren't worried about anything else. They wanted to be able to name drop the big name people of this field, so that way it made them feel a little bit more credible. Well, if you look at today, where there is this clique of media on influencers on social media, along with a couple of journalists who seem to get all the stories, like Ross Coulthart, no shot at him. This isn't a shot at anybody personally, but it does go to show that certain people in this field are only talking to certain people to control the narrative. The old message is this, people: if you control the narrative, you control what the people hear. Yes, that is what is happening in ufology. So they could change the acronyms from UFO to UAP, ET and aliens to NHI, CE5 to psionics, and whatever the next acronym is going to come or name change is going to come after that. And it will happen. But sometimes staying back and looking at the patterns that are forming, you will see how obvious this really is. I encourage every one of you, whether you have a deep interest in this field, whether you're an experiencer, or whether you are someone who is just learning about this topic, take a look at the plays that are happening. This is like the Super Bowl, and you are the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, Nick Sirianni, and you are calling the plays and running the ball down the field to victory. They've done it perfectly. There is no threat narrative. There could be a threat because of the sky, or if they're in the sky close to airplanes, or if they're in nuclear facilities. But guess what? None of them have been shot down. None of them have been shot at. We could apparently find them on radar, but we're not shooting at them. Why is that? Look at the drones. UFO people or UAP people were so deep into the drones that they didn't want to hear that they were man-made. There is a major narrative being played regarding this story, and we must discern what is truthful and what is on an agenda. I don't like being a conspiracy theorist. This is why I like telling stories, and I like hearing from researchers who are digging in, finding these awesome locations for hauntings, cryptids, UFOs. That's where it's fun. Right now, ufology or uapology is not fun. Ufology was fun. Now, people will say, well, Dave, what's the difference between uapology and ufology? Well, my first take on that, you've heard me say it before, UAP are man-made objects. UFOs are not. Number two, ufology is the old school word and that we used in order to talk about this subject that we love. Uapology came up when the government agents started talking about it to try and make it more credible, because ufology was about flying discs that look like hubcaps and little green men coming into your bedroom to give you anal probes. And the minute the government people started coming out and everybody jumped on the bandwagon, that's how the UAP thing took off. But it was a better world when it was ufology. It was a kinder UFO world. X hadn't exploded into the crap storm it is today. Yes, we're getting information faster, but I'm not sure if it's for the better. There are more people loving this subject and working hard on it. That is what has been a benefit. Whether it's Lester Nair, whether it's Joe Mergia, whether it's Dan Warren, or many others in this field. We're getting better and we're learning more. But what is the cost of learning more when you are not questioning the threat narrative that is going on? You're buying into UAP rather than UFOs. You're buying into NHI rather than aliens or extraterrestrials. You're buying into psionics, but you never bought into CE5. Hypocrisy is among us. Use discernment and try your best to figure out and learn that the narrative is real and the story now is being controlled. And personally, I just want my old ufology back. That's your Dave 101.
As God is my witness, I thought turkeys could fly.
Ladies and gentlemen, here is the latest bulletin from the Intercontinental Radio News.
Loud noises! I am good at things. Fighting and reading the news.
It's time once again for Spaced Out Radio's Weird News of the Week.
There's a dangerous criminal that is wandering around Mississippi. So if you're in the Mississippi area, be very careful because police are asking residents to be on the lookout for an unusual suspect wanted for felony fleeing and disorderly conduct. No, it's not even a human. It's an emu. The Batesville Police Department said the escaped emu was last seen on Highway 6 near the Co-op and Hyundai dealership in Batesville. Yep, police wanted to share a poster of the emu the Great, saying the Australia native bird is wanted for felony fleeing and disorderly conduct. Please use all caution if you come in contact with this subject, the poster reads, is known to charge at anyone standing in its way of freedom. The department cautioned anyone who spots the email to not honk their car horns. She is scared and the owners have got a team helping them to get her back home safe, the post says. If you spot her, please notify us. We'll get in touch with the owners. They didn't say whether the emu was armed and dangerous, but if you've ever seen the claws on the feet of an emu, yeah, you definitely will agree it's armed and dangerous. I don't even know how I'm going to tell this next story. Ugh. Just when you think food poisoning couldn't get any worse, one man found out it really can after suffering a rather embarrassing side effect in a world first case. World first. How does this even happen? I don't know. I don't want to know. But now we're going to have to be aware. Yeah. Doctors in Lebanon have revealed they treated a 38-year-old man who had contracted a rather unusual bacterial infection in his penis. While infections and sexually transmitted diseases are, of course, relatively common in the nether regions, medics were left baffled by the man's strange symptoms, which looked more like food poisoning than anything else. Oh my. Yep. The NHS states that food poisoning is caused by eating contaminated food, and while it's usually not serious, symptoms include nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, and abdominal pain, among other symptoms. The problem with that is it's never been found in one male genital area. Yeah, never. Due to its frankly bizarre nature, this situation has been logged in the annals of medicine and surgery as the first case in literature describing such an entity. So how did it happen? Well, the father of two reportedly appeared before doctors at the American University of Beirut Medical Center with signs of an infection. He'd been suffering from redness, swelling, and scabbing in the genital area. Yeah, that doesn't sound good. For about a week, and that had occurred after an episode of severe vomiting and diarrhea, which led him to soil the area. Gross. Yep, we're getting dirty here. They swabbed the scab prank, and the test results only puzzled medics more, as a type of bacteria called Bacillus cereus, which is commonly found in the gastrointestinal illnesses, was found to be there. Tracing back on how this could have possibly happened, the patient said he had dinner with his family where he had eaten rice, followed by vigorous making love under the stars with his wife, who said she didn't have any gastrointestinal symptoms prior to the vomiting and diarrhea. Medics determined that the rice he had eaten had been contaminated with the bacteria, and his blood vessels had become dilated, which became physical when he became physical with his wife, just moments before he had to leg it to the toilet. Yeah, it is believed during that moment, some of the bacterial matter through his vomit and feces made direct contact with his Johnson. And because his blood vessels were dilated, they were more susceptible to the bacteria taking over. The authors of the study explained, well, it's possible that the diarrhea and vomitus, which contained the penis post-intercourse, is likely the source of the skin infection, before adding, in all our years of medical practice, we've never seen anything quite like this. As for the patient, his month-long treatment plan involved a acid ointment, a strict hygiene regimen, and a temporary ban on making sweet love to his wife, notwithstanding a probable fear of rice for life. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat room tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LDF, Facebook, LinkedIn, Space Travelers Club, and on X, hashtag Space Travelers Radio. I know you're out there somewhere. Remember, this show is copyright by Space Travelers Radio and it's Limited. Thank you so much for sharing with us. Because together, my don't friend, make a mistake. We're watching. The night. Mr. Yes, the wood trade has gone for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, you've got room for them too. Good night, everybody. Yeah, Paramarv, I know. And I apologize about that, but we can't seem to figure out the different or how to clean up the audio between, because it's not the system. Like if you listen to the podcast side literally has or sounds perfect the way it's supposed to. But StreamYard, when the audio from the one audio section and me being the second audio come together, it bleeds into each other. And that's not very good. And that's what we're battling. And that's why, like, during the intros and everything and the outro, you don't get to hear us Drives me nuts, to be honest. Even knowing that drives me crazy. Excuse me. Lex Diaz, how you doing? Oh, I actually had a good Dave 101 tonight. I think it was a good one. You guys tell me. Is that a good Dave 101 tonight? Is it worth re-listening to? Good night, Mama Catherine. High data derivations. Oh, Deb, you keep saying those juicy little comments like on the screen right now. You're going to get yourself a big old hug in San Francisco if you show up. It's true. It's true. Download. It's not ready to download yet. By the way, I posted this on my Facebook if you go see it. This lady or man, I don't know, kind of covered up in the face due to wind. Kayaking, I don't know where. Probably Australia or California, because that's where this kind of silliness happens. And what comes swimming near the tip of her boat? A great white. Yeah, great white just swimming on by. So, person cuts their fishing line and figures, well, we're going to start paddling away. Guess who followed the kayaker to shore? My question to anybody out there is, Why in the Sam hell would you kayak in an area where there's great whites, where you've seen great whites actually attack big boats? They've even bit into Zodiacs, almost sinking the things. Why would one do that? Where in human logic does that say that is a smart idea to do? Nothing says that. Nothing says that at all. Okay? Prove me wrong. It's ridiculous. It's why we have Darwin Awards. Drives me crazy seeing crap like that. Don't get people. I don't get you. Who does that? Like, seriously, who does that? All right. Anyhow, my pet peeve. All right. My throat is feeling a little dry tonight. Apparently, I had too much rice. Tomorrow night on the show, it's going to be explosive. The average Chris is here from X, big time skeptic on the UFO side. We're going to take him on tomorrow night about this subject of the real woo of what's going on. Just make sure you check us on out. Big thank you tonight to Linda, Ozzy Ange, Deborah Rooney, Chill Farm, Mel WD40, Galactic J, and Sensational Shelley. Okay. We'll see you all tomorrow night. I apologize for cutting this short. I'm just tired and worn out. See you tomorrow. Much love, everybody.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.